We were walking on forests and mountains, any way that we could avoid the border. My parents put an agreement in place with the lorry driver to take us from Germany to the UK. You almost feel like the oxygen's being slowly taken away. My cousin nearly passed out because he was crying so much out of fear. My parents were really terrified that we would be found out and we would be sent back. And by then, obviously, the genocide had started. It would have just made us a target. Sorry. My name is Leonarda Demoli, and this is my refugee story. I was born in Kosovo, in Pristina. I'm the oldest of 5. The earliest memory I have from that time is when we immigrated to the UK. It was a traumatic time in Kosovo. The day that we started our journey, it was my mum, my dad, myself, my brother, my uncle, my aunt, my cousins, and it was 2 other families with us. And we decided we would walk because of the Serbian regime wouldn't really allow cars in and out of the borders. We left in February 1998, just a month before the war started. From the journey from Kosovo to Croatia, we were walking on forests and mountains, any way that we could avoid the border. By the time you got to Croatia or Montenegro, if you went to the border, they wouldn't have allowed you in because of political unrest, and obviously because we didn't have any other citizenship except for a Serbian citizenship, which my parents left back at home because Kosovo was going under a genocide, and having a Serbian citizenship wasn't going to help us when we were Albanian from Kosovo. It would have just made us a target. It was a struggle. My dad had my uncle on his back. My uncle had half a lung and a half. He suffered a lot, so he couldn't walk. My other uncle was carrying the toddlers. So me, my brother, his kids, 2 on the back and 1 on either side. One of my aunts was pregnant, so she had to take constant breaks. And so it was a tough journey. And in the Balkans, it snows for quite a considerable amount of time. So my parents were pretty much really prepared with chains around their shoes and stuff to just try and get out into Croatia and then hitchhike from there. The sleeping arrangement was with makeshift tents that my parents and my aunts and uncles had with them, or just sleeping bags. My uncle, my dad, they were all trained in the Yugoslavian army, so they all knew how to start a fire from scratch. We continued to walk until we hit about Croatia. We hitchhiked from Croatia to Germany. From Germany, my parents put an agreement in place with the lorry driver to take us from Germany to the UK. And the reason was because Germany was deporting everyone back to Kosovo. So my parents' fear was if we stopped in Germany and we would be sent back. That's where the journey started on the lorry. 6 families were just packed in with boxes that were transporting Balkan food to the UK. No one was allowed to say anything. We weren't allowed to stop. We never left the lorry, never left for the toilets. There was no toilets. We just stayed there because my parents were really terrified that if they had left the lorry, that we would be found out and we would be sent back. And by then, obviously, the genocide had started. By the time we got to the border in France, it was just like, don't make a sound. The Eurotunnel is completely different when it comes to a car. A car has the comfort of the sound barrier between the actual Eurotunnel train and the tunnel itself, whereas the lorry doesn't have that. The lorry is completely exposed, so you can hear metal scraping on metal. It's hot, it's dark, there's no light, so it's completely black, and you almost feel like the oxygen is being slowly taken away. My cousin nearly passed out because he was crying so much out of fear. Once we hit Dover, we went through the border. We were then kicked out by the lorry driver, and that was it. Now you have to make your own way. My parents only knew a few words, yes, no, and refugee, and they saw police officers. And the police officers first asked if you have money, and my parents had spent all their money on this journey itself to secure our places in this lorry. And the police officers then paid for everyone's tickets to go to Liverpool Street. And we were then stuck there for 2 weeks. So the time on Liverpool Street, it was like a begging time. You had to beg for food, you had to beg for survival, sleep on the Liverpool Street train station chairs. The good thing is that my dad did have one phone, and he did have everyone's numbers saved in his little notebook, so he could communicate with people back at home. And we were waiting for my uncle that was serving in the KLA. He was wounded. He was a British citizen. And he came back to the UK and pretty much saved us from Liverpool Street. And he's pretty much the reason why I'm sitting here now. He helped us settle. We got registered with the council, with the government as asylum seekers. They started helping us. I remember my first day in school, I believe it was either reception or year one, and I felt like an alien because I just didn't understand anything. Once I started to pick up the language, I started taking the responsibility of helping my parents, and this was either with meetings with the council, meeting with housing officers, meeting with the teachers, and by the time I was 10, I had 4 other siblings. So I was the teacher at home, the tutor. I was the one that went to parents' evening. I was the one that was reading them bedtime stories. So I took a really heavy burden on my back.
Did you have friends at school?
Not a lot. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. Fitting in was quite difficult. As a child, because I had such a different experience and a whole different environment at home, and then being friends with children that had really no care in the world, they had no stress, they had no responsibilities because they were children, they were teenagers, I couldn't really relate to anyone. So I didn't have a lot of close friends. And growing up, I would see how my dad was treated because of his accent. And that kind of ignited this fire in my belly where I was like, this accent has to be really, really British, English, because I don't want to be treated that way. I was raised with this mentality that outside you are British and you have to fit in. And then at home, I was this Balkan child. Growing up as a refugee, even though it was traumatic, it's made me into this strong, confident woman that I am now. If I survived that, I can survive anything.